Vice President Fielder, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. The time is 1:36 p.m. We are meeting today in the Bollinger Room at the Montana Public Service Commission. My apologies for the late start. We ran into a little extra discussion in our scheduling meeting, but it was all stuff important to the commission. So with that being said, we have with us in the Bollinger Room, we have Commissioners Bukasek, Pinocci, and myself. And joining us online is Vice President Fielder. And I expect Commissioner Molnar will be joining us momentarily. So with that being said, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, public comment. Are there any public commenters in the room? Senator Dunwell, welcome.
Good afternoon, President Wellborn and Vice President Fielder on Zoom land, and Commissioner Pinocci and Commissioner Bukacek. I actually have a comment regarding Commissioner Bukacek's district and my Senate district. I was looking forward to hearing your update on the North Star development water issue. I understand there may be a continuance, and that's fine, but I'm just looking forward to hearing your protections that are underway. And thank you for those, because people, my goodness, in our state, in our country, in this day and age, should be able to rely on 24/7 water availability, dependability, at least for their household, to drink, to shower, and things like that. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Senator Dunwell. I don't see any other public commenters in the room. So joining us online, Patricia. We've got, is Mr. Jurica. Is he?
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome, Mr. Jurica.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you. My name is David Drika from Powder River County. My comment is about docket 2025-09-071. I'm referring only to what is posted in the commission's public docket record. Order 7320 issued October 30th, 2013, approved the pipeline for the transportation of crude petroleum. As I review the docket today, I do not find any commission vote or commission order authorizing the transportation of natural gas liquids. From everything that's being posted publicly, I do not see any commission order on that matter. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Jurica. We appreciate you weighing in. Are there any other public commenters? Is that all that was registered? All righty, thank you, Patricia. All righty, next action on the item on the agenda is approval of the commission minutes from the week of November 17th. Is there discussion?
Mr. President, I will move adoption of the minutes for the week of November 17th.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Alrighty, minutes for the week of November 24th. Is there discussion?
Mr. President, I move that we defer the minutes of November 24th until the next business meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of deferring the minutes of the November 24th meeting of 2025, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Moving along to the work session on docket 2020.09.094, the North Star Development LLC discussion. Teresa, welcome.
Good morning, commissioners, or good afternoon at this point. For the record, my name is Teresa Omens. I'm a staff attorney here at the Public Service Commission. As you recall, this docket deals with the commission's investigation into North Star Development, which provides water and wastewater service near Helena. On August 15th, the commission issued Order 7744G, establishing preliminary penalty amounts against North Star for its failure to cooperate with the commission and its failure to provide reasonably adequate service. In that order, the commission directed North Star to either appear before it in a hearing or request to engage in settlement discussions. In response to that order, North Star elected to engage in settlement. As a result, the commission ordered staff to engage in settlement discussions for not more than 60 days, beginning August 25th. On November 3rd, the commission extended that time for settlement for another 30 days, beginning on October 28th. That would mean our settlement timeline ended November 28th. Staff and North Star were able to finalize an agreement on November 28th. However, there was not sufficient time for the commission to review that settlement before today's work session. Therefore, we will schedule another work session on December 16th for the commission to review and decide on approving that settlement. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Is there questions from commissioners? Commissioner Pinocci.
Yeah, concerns come up more than once that if there's a fine that's in this agreement, it'll simply just get passed on to the ratepayer. As the people of this community worked with our staff on an answer that would get around that concern.
I can't talk about exactly what was discussed in settlement negotiations. As we've discussed before, those negotiations are confidential. What I can tell you is that if you don't feel the settlement meets that concern or addresses it properly, we can discuss it on the 16th and in your approval or not approval of the settlement. But staff in North Star did have that in consideration during their negotiations.
Sure, I just want everyone to know that trying to pay attention to the concerns of the ratepayer, that's a concern I'd like weighed out when the proper time arises, to not just fine them and then wind up with everybody having higher rates to pay for the fine, because then the punishment's not going to those that are responsible for mismanagement. Thank you.
Further questions from the commission?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yeah, Vice President Fielder.
Question for staff. That is, it's not typical that a fine would be passed on to a ratepayer, is it? Isn't the fine come out of the company profit margin rather than on the backs of the ratepayers.
Mr. President, Vice President Fielder, I don't know that I have a good answer to that question. I think the insinuation is that although the company would be paying the fine, they would raise their rates to do so. But again, I don't know that I have a sufficient answer to whether or not that would be what would occur in this instance.
Okay, well, just a comment. I mean, it's been standard practice when the commission issues a fine that that is not something that is approved in rate base and allowed to be passed on to the customers because it's a management decision. So the risk of ratepayers having to pay this fine, I would say, are very, very low, but we will wait and see what the settlement agreement proposes. And I know that this company will have a rate case or has a rate case as well that where we can scrutinize those expenses as well. And I agree with my colleague that certainly the ratepayer should not have to pay for the lack of diligence on the part of the ownership of that company.
Further questions from the committee or from the commission?
Mr. President,
Yeah, Commissioner Bukacek.
because of the timing of this, we don't really have any choice but to continue it at another time. Do we need a motion to continue this on December 16th?
I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to continue this case until December 16th.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor of continuing this discussion to December the 16th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Next is docket 2024.09.099. It is a discussion related to MDU's 2024 Integrated Resource Plan. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Welcome.
President and Commissioners. Thank you. My name is Mike Dalton, and I am an analyst here in the Regulatory Division. Before you today is docket number 2024.09.099, which is Montana Dakota Utilities 2024 Integrated Resource Plan. This plan was filed with the Commission on September 27th, 2024. The Commission issued a notice and opportunity to comment on January 8th, 2025. The Commission held 2 listening sessions to receive public comment on the 2024 IRP. Both listening sessions were held on March 5th, 2025. One listening session was held in Miles City, Montana, and the other was held in Glendive, Montana. At those public listening sessions, MDU announced that it had signed a power purchase agreement with Badger Wind LLC to purchase 150 megawatts of output with an option to purchase 49% of the project. MDU also announced that it would be filing a supplement to the 2024 IRP with the Commission in the near future at that time to provide further modeling analysis around the Badger Wind project. And on March 28th, MDU filed its supplement to the 2024 IRP with the Commission. And before continuing, I would like to make a note of something. It's important to note that Commission rules surrounding integrated resource plan have changed in recent years. At the time MDU was preparing the 2024 IRP, it was operating under the Commission's previous planning rules. And when MDU filed its 2024 IRP with the Commission, there was no deadline on the Commission by which it had to issue comments in response to the plan. Since then, the planning rules have been updated within Administrative Rules of Montana 38.5 subchapter 20. And the Commission also now has a deadline of 4 months to publicly notice an IRP, receive public comment on the plan, and issue its own comments. But the Commission is not under that 4-month deadline with regard to the 2024 IRP that's in front of you because of when it was filed. The goal of integrated least cost resource planning is to ensure public utilities meet their customers' needs for adequate, reliable, and efficient energy services at the lowest long-term total cost while managing risks and remaining financially sound. the 2024 IRP analyzes MDU's load resource balance over a 20-year timeframe. At the time MDU was preparing the 2024 IRP, MISO had proposed to FERC a new capacity accreditation approach called direct loss of load, or DLOL, as I will refer to it throughout this work session. The DLOL approach is an attempt to improve grid reliability by better valuing resources based on their availability during the highest risk hours on the MISO system. The DLOL approach generally reduces the amount of capacity assigned to all resources and, as a result, pushes up the date in which MDU expects it will need to acquire additional capacity. MDU examined its resource adequacy position under both the legacy approach and the DLOL approach in the 2024 IRP. Under the legacy approach, MDU projected it would be resource deficient in 2034. Under the DLOL approach, MDU projects it will be deficient in 2027. In October 2024, FERC, shortly after MDU filed this plan with the initial filing of the plan with the Commission, FERC approved MISO's request to implement the DLOL capacity accreditation approach beginning in the 2028-2029 planning year. The IRP projects MDU's energy load in Montana will increase by about 0.3% annually throughout the forecast. The IRP projects MDU's peak load across its integrated system to increase by about 0.7% per year in the winter and by about 0.5% per year in the summer. MDU hired a consultant to estimate the costs and production characteristics of resources which could potentially be added to MDU's system to meet its load deficiency over the planning horizon. Based on the consultant's report, MDU modeled the following resources in its 2024 IRP: simple cycle turbines, combined cycle turbines, RICE units, wind resources, solar resources, battery storage, and short-term capacity purchases. MDU also included specific cost information for a project called Badger Wind. As I mentioned earlier, MDU became aware of the Badger Wind project very late in its planning cycle, so the project received limited modeling in the main filing, but the project was fully modeled under all sensitivity scenarios in the supplement to the IRP that MDU filed in 2025. The model in the 2024 IRP selected the Badger Wind project as the optimal resource to add to MDU system in 2027 under the base case of the DLOL capacity accreditation approach. Mr. President, the document before the Commission this morning is a draft version of Commission comments that the Commission could issue in response to MDU's IRP. For the sake of time, I will not summarize the entire document, but the document generally summarizes the contents of the 2024 IRP, as well as comments on the IRP that the Commission received from the Montana Department of Environmental Quality and several members of the public. The draft comments from the Commission point out several deficiencies in the IRP. The items that staff has pointed out in the draft comments include a lack of documentation in the IRP with regard to MDU's engagement with its advisory group and the public, inconsistent information in the plan with regard to the amount of demand response that MDU expects to acquire over the planning horizon, a failure to include certain resources within the planning model, such as long-duration battery storage, because the resources had been labeled as emerging technologies by MDU's consultant, a failure to provide a thorough description of the inputs that MDU used in the AEGIS model and how it operates, and a failure to include a description of the process that MDU will use to acquire additional resources, including the use of competitive solicitations through an RFP. Staff have had the opportunity to meet with several commissioners to discuss the draft comments before you. It is staff's understanding that some commissioners have some thoughts that they would like to see incorporated into the draft comments before they were issued. So for today's work session, staff would like to discuss with commissioners the draft comments as they stand, hear from commissioners on whether or not they have additional points that they would like to see incorporated into the comments, and discuss the procedure that the commission would like to use going forward to work with staff to incorporate your thoughts and finalize the document. Before we continue our discussion, I would just like to remind commissioners that we do have an open rate case before the commission in which MDU is seeking cost recovery for some of the resources discussed in the IRP. So please be mindful of that and limit your comments today to MDU's 2024 IRP and its compliance with the Commission's planning rules. The 2024 IRP is a non-contested docket, and any decisions that the Commission makes with respect to rates or cost recovery will be made in that rate case that I just referenced. And with me today is Pam from the Legal Division and Disha from the Regulatory Division. And unless either Pam or Disha have anything to add, Mr. President, we are available for questions.
Thank you, Mike. Anything from? All right, commissioners, discussion or questions?
President,
Yeah, go ahead.
so comments are acceptable?
Yes.
I just think it's really great work, and I especially appreciate the lack of punitive, harsh language, because we're here to be a helpful resource to the utilities. And so like it. I like it. I like how it was done generally. Just a general comment.
Mr. President,
Yeah, go ahead.
thank you. I agree with that comment. This is a matter of fact series of comments that go straight to the facts and the information in the integrated resource plan. I am one of the commissioners that visited with staff about some items which I think should probably be addressed or accentuated in our comments. And so I'd like to move to continue this matter to the next business meeting on December 16th. And that any commissioners that want to provide amendments to the comments would provide those to staff by the close of business on next Wednesday, December 10th. And if there's a second, I'll explain my motion, the reason for it.
Is there a second?
I second.
Commission.
Okay.
There was a race to the microphone. It was serious. It was seconded by Commissioner Bukasek with Commissioner Pinocci coming in a very, very strong second.
Okay, great.
No pun intended. Anyway.
May
So,
I
yes,
explain
please,
my motion?
discussion. Yes.
Thank you. So, commissioners, this IRP was filed last fall, and we held the public comment period during the spring of earlier this year. And after that public comment period closed, a very significant amendment was added to this IRP. And I think the draft comments that staff prepared are very well done, but I think there's a few more points that should be addressed. And I'm still trying to suss out the extent of what we can say that will be meaningful and constructive, because the comments that we make on IRPs oftentimes are used, and the IRP itself are used as the basis for justifying positions within the rate case. So I think it's important to be careful, and I know staff has been, but I think there's a few points that the commissioners ourselves might want to augment this with. I know some of the concerns that I saw that weren't necessarily accentuated in here include the MISO accreditation method that we had under the existing method. The forecast capacity of MDU exceeds the forecast demand by 2034 under the best case scenario. But with this new MISO accreditation methodology, that gap widens even further and arrives earlier. And it seems that this new method, along with the modeling that MDU's consultants used in this plan, resulted in a strong preference for wind and battery resources, along with purchase contracts to meet the needs of Montana consumers, rather than the existing system, which seemed to support providing the power through different means. I want to be able to look at that more closely. And the RFP process, staff caught that that these RFPs were issued, or not RFPs, but RFPs probably should have been issued, but weren't, for some major contracts, including Badger Wind and then the Burns and Mac consultant as well. There may be others, but the selection process for major contracts isn't disclosed in this plan, and it's supposed to be. And so I think we need to really drill down on that and why that's important. And to me, it really rings true because particularly one of the consultants that provided these cost estimates for facilities was the same consultant that had provided cost estimates for another major utility. And those cost estimates came in way, way off. And there were some major multi-million dollar repercussions from that. And so I would like to somehow incorporate comments that encourage MDU or set the expectation that they will carefully test these study assumptions put together by this consultant regarding projected costs. And I think there's a couple things that were missed in the plan as far as the emerging technology. Staff pointed out that some types of technology seem to be overlooked, including these new technology battery storage, but I didn't see discussion in or serious consideration given to other types of technologies that could be considered in the future. But I also didn't see any assessment of whether hydroelectric generation was feasible, whether recommissioning the shuttered coal plants was feasible. I mean, there didn't seem to be anyone looking at that. And there's, a different set of political environment in place now at the national level that wasn't there when this plan was originally drafted. So I understand there's some lag because this plan was written a little more than a year ago. But I would like to take some time and just add a few things to the comments to help give guidance to the utility on what the commission thinks are important and what we're looking for and what the plan should incorporate in order to satisfy the requirements of the law. And the purpose for having these plans is to try to identify reliable least cost energy alternatives. And I'm not sure the plan quite gets there. So I'd like to have us take some more time and have commissioners take a look at it and offer amendments or thoughts to staff within the week so that I know we have a busy week this week with some other hearings and things. But if we could get those turned into staff by end of day next Wednesday, then they could get them distributed out on Friday for the commission to have in hand and review before we would go to deliberations on Tuesday, the 16th. So that's the reason for the motion, and I hope that you'll support it. And if you don't, I guess we'll just accept the comments as written without any further input.
Thank you, Commissioner Fielder. Commissioner Molnar.
I'd like to second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? I would echo a lot of what Vice President Fielder said. I mean, this, as was noted by staff, started clear back in 2024, which was before my time on the commission. So I appreciate the history lesson and the educational component of this and the time that you've spent. And I would also echo Commissioner Fielder's on the emerging technologies piece. I think it's always good to look at everything that's out there, so we've got a comparable to use. But I was, I guess, a little bit interested in why maybe things that are right before that are either part of a portfolio or technology available today, there wasn't a lot of emphasis or light shed on those. And to me, in my mind, to have a good comparable to know about these emerging technologies, if they're viable or not, is to have adequate comparables. And I'm in my mind, maybe there was a little bit lacking there, or maybe we can get some more information. But other than that, I really appreciate all of your work, and I think you guys have picked through this with a fine-tooth comb for the most part, and have a document that we can act on. But with that being said, the motion before us is to continue, I believe, this discussion until the 16th, date specific, at our December 16th business meeting. So with that being said, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And yeah, if I think thanks for bringing that up. I think it would be helpful if anybody that does have comments or amendments to the comments or suggestions, that those get brought forward by next Wednesday, and then get those to staff, and then we can certainly have a more robust discussion on everybody's thoughts. And I appreciate working on it in this manner. I think that's the way to bring concerns forward, have a discussion, and go back and do our work and bring it back. And I think this is the way that people expect us to do our business. So thanks for that, commissioners and staff. Thank you so much for bringing all this before us today and the work that you've done to this point. All righty. I don't believe there are any announcements, other than there is an evidentiary hearing. I don't know if we need to mention that, but there is an evidentiary hearing on a contested case on garbage hauling in Three Forks. It starts Wednesday, tomorrow, the 3rd, and is scheduled for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday if our business isn't conducted on Wednesday. And I will be chairing that. I think Commissioner Bukasek will be in attendance, and other than that,
Commissioners, I wish you all safe travels. I made an attempt this morning, and the roads are really bad and supposed to be pretty bad over this half of the state. So be careful when you're out there. If you haven't been on them today, you'll find out pretty quick. They can be really slick.
Thank you for that.
thank you. Yep, and I wish everybody safe travels as well. Yeah, I found some 31-degree roads myself this morning on the way in. So yeah, be careful, everyone. Safe travels, and thanks for your time today, and we will see you back here next week.
Uh,
Meeting adjourned.